It really has been a schizophrenic year for mycology. It feels like we're seeing the full spectrum of what fungi can do to us and for us all at the same time. We're
Exactly.
seeing evolution, legislation, and discovered history all converging.
It's almost hard to keep track of the tone. On one hand, we have this biological horror story playing out in California right now, a super bloom of toxic mushrooms that is literally overwhelming liver transplant centers.
And then on the other hand, as of last month, the Czech Republic has fully medicalized psilocybin. They're effectively turning magic mushrooms into a prescription drug.
Right. And then somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, you have scientists in China and Africa discovering mushrooms that don't just poison you or heal you, but seem to, hack the human brain.
In very specific, reproducible ways. I mean, we're talking about shared hallucinations that, for now, defy explanation.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have a massive stack of articles, epidemiology reports, and research papers covering late 2025 through early 2026. Our mission today is to make sense of the four biggest mushroom stories of the year.
And honestly, we have to start with the most immediate threat. That's the resurgence of the death cap in California.
Yeah, let's start there, because usually when we talk about mushroom poisoning, the assumption is it's an isolated incident. Maybe a teenager looking for a cheap high or a random hiker making a careless mistake. But the data you shared suggests this isn't just people being careless. This is a statistical anomaly, isn't it?
It is completely off the charts. Just to give you the baseline, in a typical year, the California Poison Control System might handle 2, maybe 5 cases of Amanita phalloides poisoning.
5 cases total.
Total for the whole year. That's the background noise. But since November 18th of last year, leading into early 2026, we have seen over 3 dozen confirmed cases.
So we went from 5 cases a year to 40 cases in a few months.
Approximately 40 severe illnesses, yes. At least 4 confirmed deaths and 3 people who required emergency liver transplants.
Wow.
Dr. Craig Smolin, who is with the poison control system there, he called it unprecedented. And when a toxicologist uses the word unprecedented, you should probably listen.
So what caused this? Did the mushrooms just decide to attack, or did people suddenly forget how to forage?
In a way, nature pulled a fast one. It comes down to environmental factors. We had an unusually warm fall in 2025, followed immediately by early heavy rains.
A perfect storm.
For a fungus, that specific combination is the ultimate go signal. It created a super bloom. The mycelium, the underground network, just pushed up fruit bodies in massive numbers, specifically in urban parks and near oak trees.
And the scary thing about death caps, and the reason they're responsible for about 90% of fatal mushroom poisonings globally, is that they don't look scary. They don't have...
Right, no skulls and crossbones on them.
Right.
Exactly. That is the deception. They can be brownish, white to greenish. They look incredibly similar to safe, edible varieties, like the paddy straw mushroom that people forage all over the world.
And that confusion is at the heart of this outbreak. The demographics of the victims tell a really sad story here.
It does.
Right, looking at the data, over 60% of the cases involved Spanish speakers. And there were also significant numbers of Mixteco and Mandarin speakers.
Exactly. These aren't thrill seekers. These are often people who are experienced foragers in their home countries. They see a mushroom that looks exactly like a delicious edible species they grew up eating in Oaxaca or Yunnan.
So they pick it, thinking it's safe.
Because their pattern recognition tells them it is.
There was that heartbreaking story of Laura Marcelino from Salinas. She and her husband found mushrooms that looked just like the ones they used to forage back in Oaxaca.
It's a devastating case. They made a soup with them. Laura spent 5 days in the hospital, but her husband took a harder hit. He needed a liver transplant. And the terrifying part of the death cap is the mechanism of the toxin. It's called amatoxin.
Okay, let's get a little technical here, because I think people need to understand why this isn't just a tummy ache. What does amatoxin actually do to the body?
So amatoxins are these cyclical peptides. They are incredibly efficient killers. Specifically, they inhibit an enzyme called RNA polymerase II.
Okay.
Without getting too bogged down in biology, this enzyme is what allows your cells to synthesize proteins. If your cells can't make proteins, they start functioning and die.
So basically it just turns off the machinery of your cells.
Precisely. And the first organ to filter this from your blood is the liver. So it basically melts your liver from the inside out.
Oh, that's brutal.
And the cruel twist is the delay. You might have cramping or vomiting in the first 24 hours, but then symptoms can sometimes fade. You think, oh, I survived it. But inside, your liver is fully necrotic.
And I think a lot of people assume, oh, if I just cook it well enough, it'll kill the poison.
Like salmonella in chicken, and that is a fatal assumption. Drying, cooking, peeling, boiling. None of it destroys amatoxins.
Nothing.
Nothing. They are incredibly stable and heat resistant. You could boil a death cap for hours and the soup would still be lethal.
Now, here is where it gets really interesting. Scientifically speaking, I was reading in the notes that these American death caps aren't just multiplying, they are changing.
This is a disturbing new finding. Amanita phalloides is actually invasive in North America. It came from Europe on the roots of imported trees a long time ago.
Right.
But recent research shows that the U.S. populations are evolving. They are producing previously unknown toxins that are distinct from their European ancestors.
So they are adapting.
They are diverging. We are finding compounds in these California mushrooms that we don't see in the European ones.
Yeah.
It suggests they are adapting to the new environment, possibly to compete with local fungi or deter local predators.
So it's evolution in real time.
In real time, and it's making them potentially even more dangerous because our toxicology profiles are based on the European versions.
It feels like this mushroom has been in the news constantly for the last year. Even before this California outbreak, we had the sentencing of Aaron Patterson in Australia.
That case really kept the danger of Amanita phalloides in the global consciousness leading up to 2026. For those who don't remember, Aaron Patterson was sentenced in September 2025 to life in prison for the Leongatha mushroom murders.
A beef Wellington case.
Exactly. She served a beef Wellington laced with death caps to her former in-laws.
It was such a bizarre and high-profile case. 3 people died. And I remember the defense tried to claim it was accidental foraging, but the court found she had lied about where she got them.
It just highlighted how lethal these fungi are. Whether used as a weapon or eaten by mistake during a super bloom, the biological result is the same. It is a stark reminder of the power of nature.
Okay, so that is the deadly side of the fungal frontier. But let's pivot to something a little more hopeful. While California was dealing with poisonings, the Czech Republic was making history.
Yes, this is a massive shift in drug policy. As of January 2026, the Czech Republic has officially approved the medical use of psilocybin.
And we should be clear, this isn't legalization in the sense that you can buy magic mushrooms at a dispensary, right? This isn't the Oregon model where you go to a service center for a journey.
Correct. This is strictly medical. It is a formal regulatory decree. It allows psychiatrists to prescribe psilocybin specifically for treatment-resistant depression, cancer-related depression, and other severe mental health disorders where standard medication just hasn't worked.
It seems like the Czech Republic is really leading the charge here. Why them? Is there a cultural reason?
Well, they have a history with psychedelic research going back to the days of Stanislav Grof. But the immediate driver is just urgent need. The statistics are staggering.
How staggering.
Almost 1 in 3 Czech citizens suffers from some form of mental illness. About 700,000 people there are diagnosed with depression or anxiety.
Wow.
So the government looked at the data, realized standard SSRIs weren't cutting it for everyone, and decided they needed a new tool.
I was looking at the regulations they put in place. They are incredibly specific. It's not just, here's a pill, call me in the morning.
They have to be. This is all about safety. The therapy can only be administered under specialist supervision. There are dosage limits, a maximum of 75 grams of psilocybin-containing biomass per month, spread out over a maximum of 3 doses.
And there's a timing rule, too.
Yes, the doses must be at least 7 days apart.
That 7-day gap is interesting. Is that about tolerance?
Partly tolerance, but mostly it's about integration. Dr. Rita Kocharova, who is with the Beyond Institute there, she really emphasized this point. She said, legality is one thing, but good care is another.
Right.
The drug induces neuroplasticity, it opens the window for change, but the therapy is what actually reorganizes the thinking patterns.
So if you just dose people back to back, you aren't giving them time to make sense of the experience.
Exactly. You need that week to integrate what you learned. Without that framework, without the set and setting, the drug itself isn't nearly as effective.
It really signals a shift in how we view these substances. I know Germany had a compassionate use program, but this Czech move feels like it's cementing psilocybin as a legitimate tool in the medical kit.
Precisely. It's moving from the fringes to the pharmacy. It signals that psilocybin is graduating from the counterculture into the pharmacopoeia. It's becoming boring in a good way.
It's becoming medicine.
It's becoming medicine.
But speaking of folklore and fringes, our next story takes us to a place where science is just catching up to ancient traditions. This was honestly my favorite find in the research. We are going to southern Africa.
Yes. This highlights a massive gap in our scientific map. For a long time, if you looked at a distribution map of known psilocybin mushrooms, Africa was mostly blank.
Really?
Until recently, there were only 4 known psilocybin species described on the entire continent.
But in the last year or so, that number has jumped to 6.
Thanks to some incredible citizen science, we have the description of psilocybin jelly, found in KwaZulu-Natal, and the real star of the show, psilocybin maluti.
Psilocybin maluti. And this mushroom is special not just because it's new to science, but because it turns out people have been using it for a long, long time.
This is the first scientifically documented case of traditional spiritual use of magic mushrooms in sub-Saharan Africa. And the way it was discovered is a story in itself. It was a collaboration between self-taught citizen scientists, academic mycologists from Stellenbosch University, and traditional healers.
The healers are the Basotho people, right?
That's right. The Basotho shamans, known as Linohe, they use this mushroom, P. maluti, in a very specific ritual to foresee the future or diagnose illness.
And the details of the ritual are fascinating. It's not just eating a raw mushroom and waiting for the walls to breathe. It's a whole pharmacological cocktail.
It really is. They steep the mushroom in a tea called koe likwaba, along with another plant called bufone disticha.
And bufone is psychoactive on its own.
It is. It's a mild hallucinogen and analgesic, so they're creating a specific synergy. The patient drinks this brew and enters a trance-like state.
And the mirror. Tell them about the mirror.
This is the part that really captures the imagination. The patient is placed in front of a reflective surface, traditionally a mirror, and they relay what they see in the reflection to the healer.
The healer interprets the visions from there.
Exactly. The healer then interprets those visions.
So the hallucination is projected.
That's the belief. The mushroom allows you to see the future, but the vision appears in the reflection. It's a fascinating psychological mechanism, using a reflection to bypass the conscious mind.
It's incredible that this has been happening for generations, likely, and science is only documenting it in 2025 and 2026.
It challenges the arrogance of modern taxonomy. We assume if it's not in a textbook, it doesn't exist. But these healers knew exactly where it grew and what it did. It really highlights the value of citizen mycologists and indigenous knowledge. There is a whole pharmacological library out there that we are blind to because we haven't asked the right people.
Speaking of being blind to things or seeing things that aren't there, we have to talk about the final story. This one is, wow, it's just weird.
This is the mystery of Lanmaua asiatica.
The little people mushroom.
The little people mushroom. So let's travel to the Yunnan province of China. There is a mushroom there, Lanmaua asiatica, that is actually a popular food source. It's a relative of the onion bolete.
People eat this.
Oh yeah, they put it in hot pots. It's savory, it's delicious.
Unless you undercook it.
Right. If you don't cook it thoroughly, things get strange. Hospitals in Yunnan treat hundreds of cases a year. But unlike psilocybin, where your trip is personal and varies, this mushroom produces a shared hallucination.
This is the part I can't wrap my head around. Everyone sees the same thing.
Almost everyone. They report seeing tiny, elf-like figures. Lilliputian.
Like Gulliver's Travels.
Exactly. Patients report these tiny people marching under doors, climbing up the furniture, clinging to the walls. It's not geometric shapes or melting colors. It is specific, structured hallucinations of little people.
And we know this isn't psilocybin.
Definitively not. Colin Domnauer at the University of Utah has been studying this. He confirmed it's not psilocybin-based. It doesn't bind to the 5-HT2A receptor in the same way. In fact, they don't know what the compound is yet.
And the trip isn't exactly fun?
No, it's grueling. It's closer to a delirium. The effects can last 1 to 3 days. It's physically dangerous, too. Domnauer's team tested extracts on mice, and they saw this pattern of hyperactivity followed by a long, comatose stupor.
So you have people stuck in a hospital bed for 3 days watching elves march around the room.
Basically. And the plot thickens, because this mushroom isn't just in China. Domnauer found the same species in the Philippines.
No way.
The mushrooms there look a bit different, pinker and smaller, but genetically, they are the same Lanmaua asiatica.
This brings up a historical mystery, too. The mushroom madness of Papua New Guinea.
Right. Back in the 1960s, the famous ethnomycologists Wasson and Heim heard reports of mushroom madness in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. The descriptions of the behavior and the visions sounded suspiciously similar to these Lilliputian hallucinations.
So Domnauer went hunting.
His team went to Papua New Guinea in December 2025 to try and find the mushroom responsible. They haven't found the specific specimen yet, but the implication is huge.
If it's the same mushroom, it's a biological mystery of distribution. But if it is a different species causing the same specific hallucination,
Then it's an evolutionary mystery. If a completely different species has evolved to produce a chemical that triggers the exact same vision of little people, that implies something wild about the human brain.
it implies that the little people program is already installed in our heads.
That is the theory. Jung might call it an archetype. A neuroscientist might call it a specific neural pathway for processing human forms. The mushroom just acts as a chemical key that unlocks that specific file. It suggests that our hallucinations are more hardwired than we think.
That is deeply unsettling and also kind of cool.
And it could have medical applications. Domnauer points out that studying this could help us treat rare neurological conditions that cause spontaneous Lilliputian hallucinations in people who haven't even eaten any mushrooms.
So we have covered a lot of ground today. From the lethal super bloom of death caps in California.
Which is a stark warning to anyone foraging on the West Coast right now. Do not eat anything unless you are 100% sure the toxins are evolving and the risks are higher than ever.
To the historic legalization of medical psilocybin in the Czech Republic, offering new hope for depression.
A shift from counterculture to clinical care.
To the discovery of ancient spiritual traditions in Africa with psilocybe maludi.
Reminding us that science often lags behind indigenous wisdom.
And finally, the baffling mystery of the little people in China.
Which reminds us how little we actually know. Estimates say that less than 5% of the world's fungal species have been described.
5%.
Less than. That means 95% of the fungal kingdom is a total mystery. There is a massive pharmacological library out there waiting to be found. Some might kill us, some might cure us, and some might show us elves.
Well, on that note, we want to leave you with that thought. When you look at a mushroom, you are looking at one of the most mysterious organisms on the planet. And as we saw with Lamella asiatica, the line between biology and our own consciousness might be thinner than we think.
It certainly makes you wonder, is the elf inside the mushroom or is it hardwired inside of you?